You know, I was talking to a woman the other day, let's call her Margaret. Margaret is 78, lives alone, and told me something that broke my heart. She said, "Some days, I wonder if anyone would even notice if I didn't wake up tomorrow." Now, if that thought has ever crossed your mind, I want you to know something: you matter. Your life matters. And just because you don't have family or friends around right now doesn't mean you're destined to be forgotten. The truth is, loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's about feeling invisible. And after 70, that feeling can creep in like a shadow. But here's the good news: you have more power than you think to change that. Today, I'm going to share 5 simple but powerful things you can start doing right now to stay connected, feel valued, and make sure your golden years are filled with purpose, not isolation. Hi, I'm Betty and I'm so happy you're joining me today. Before we dive into this important topic, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up and comment below telling me where you're watching from. I love connecting with all of you from around the world, so now let's begin. Let's start with the first one, because this one sets the foundation for everything else. Number 1. Create a daily why. When you wake up in the morning, do you have a reason to get out of bed? And no, making coffee doesn't count, I mean a real, meaningful reason. See, the human brain is wired to need purpose. Without it, we shrink. We withdraw. And before we know it, days turn into weeks, and weeks into months where we barely speak to another soul. So here's what you do: every single morning, give yourself one small mission. It could be calling a neighbor just to check in, writing down one happy memory from your life, walking to the mailbox and smiling at whoever you see. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be intentional. Because when you have a why, you'll find that people start noticing you, and more importantly, you start noticing them. Number 2. Become a regular somewhere. This one is magic. Think about it: when you go to the same coffee shop every week, what happens? The barista starts remembering your order. The other regulars nod hello. Suddenly, you're not just a face in the crowd, you're part of something. It could be a library where you check out books every Tuesday, a diner where you sit at the same booth, a park bench where you feed the birds. When you show up consistently, people start to expect you. And that's how connections are born, not from grand gestures, but from small, repeated moments. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking: but what if I'm shy? What if I don't know how to start talking to strangers? That brings me to the third point. Number 3. Master the 10-second conversation starter. You don't need to be a social butterfly to make connections. You just need one simple question to break the ice. Here's the trick: people love to talk about themselves. So ask something easy, like, "How long have you been coming here? That's a nice hat, where'd you get it? Do you know if they still make those cinnamon rolls on Fridays?" That's it. Just 10 seconds. And you'd be amazed how often those little questions turn into conversations, and how those conversations turn into friendships. Now, we've covered 3 powerful ways to start fighting loneliness: find your daily why, become a regular somewhere, and use simple questions to connect. But here's the thing: none of this works if you don't believe you're worth knowing. So before we move on to the next 2 steps, I want you to take a deep breath and say this out loud: I am not invisible. My story matters. Because it does. And now we're going to talk about how to share that story in a way that draws people to you, naturally and without force. Let me tell you about my friend George. At 82, George felt like the world had passed him by. His wife had passed, his kids lived across the country, and most days, the only voice he heard was the TV news anchor. Then one afternoon at the library, something unexpected happened. A young man sat down next to him and asked, "Excuse me, sir, you look like you've lived some interesting years." What was life like when you were my age? That simple question changed everything. For the first time in years, George felt seen. That's what we're going to talk about today, how to make sure you get those moments too. Because the secret isn't waiting for someone to notice you. It's knowing how to shine in a way that makes people want to know you. Number 4. Become a storyteller. Here's a truth most people never realize. Your ordinary memories are someone else's history lesson. That boring job you had in 1965? The way grocery stores used to look. The first time you saw a color TV? To younger generations, that's fascinating. You don't need to recite your whole life story. Just keep 1 or 2 interesting tidbits ready, like, back when I worked at the factory, we had to. You wouldn't believe what a gallon of milk cost when I was your age. When you share these little flashes of the past, something magical happens. People lean in. They ask questions. And suddenly, you're not just another senior, you're a living time capsule they feel lucky to have met. Pro tip: wear something that invites conversation. A vintage hat, an old sports team jacket, or even a classic wristwatch can be all it takes for someone to say, "Hey, tell me about that." Number 5. Adopt a secret mission mindset. This last one is my favorite. I want you to imagine yourself as a quiet force for good in your community. Here's how it works. Every week, choose one small way to make someone's day better, without them ever knowing it was you. For example, leave a cheerful note on a grocery store bulletin board, "Someone's thinking of you today." Pay for a stranger's coffee anonymously. Tape a bag of quarters to the laundromat washer with a note, "For whoever needs it." Why does this work? Because when you focus on giving connection rather than begging for it, 2 things happen. You stop feeling powerless. The world starts feeling friendlier, because you're making it that way. And here's the beautiful part: even if no one ever thanks you, you'll know. You'll walk through your neighborhood thinking, "I'm the reason someone smiled yesterday." And that's the opposite of being forgotten. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but what if I try all this and people still don't notice me? That's when we get to the real secret, the one thing that changes everything. It's not about how many people know your name. It's about how you know your own worth, whether they do or not. Let me share something with you that might surprise you. The loneliest people I've ever met weren't always alone. Some had families. Some even had friends. But they all shared one terrible feeling, the fear that they didn't matter. Here's the truth I want you to hold on to today: being remembered isn't about how many people know you. It's about how deeply you touch the lives you do encounter. That cashier you chat with every Thursday? The mail carrier who knows your name? Those connections count. They matter. And today, we're going to talk about how to make them mean something. The ripple effect you can't see, but everyone feels. There's a beautiful phenomenon that happens when you start practicing these habits. At first, it might feel like nothing's changing. You say good morning to the same people. You show up at your regular spots. You share your stories. Then one day, you're not there. And suddenly, someone notices. Has anyone seen our library friend today? The barista wonders why your usual seat is empty. The neighbor misses your wave. This is how you become unforgettable, not through grand gestures, but through steady presence. By being someone who adds light to ordinary moments. Your legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you put into the world now. I want you to try something this week. Every morning, ask yourself, who can I make feel seen today? Maybe it's the quiet widow at bingo. What small joy can I add to this place? A flower on the community bulletin board. How can I prove to myself that I matter? Volunteer to read to kids at the library. The miracle is this: when you focus on making others feel valued, you stop worrying about being forgotten. Because you're too busy living to fear disappearing. The last and most important step. Look in the mirror right now and say this: my life changes lives. Because it does. That smile you gave a stranger yesterday might have been the only kindness they received. Your story about the old neighborhood could inspire someone young to appreciate history. You are not a shadow. You are a light. And lights don't get forgotten, they get remembered every time someone finds their way in the dark. So go be someone's light. Not dramatically. Not perfectly. Just consistently. The rest will take care of itself. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these ideas resonated most? Have you tried any of them before? Share your stories in the comments, because your experience might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. If this video helped you, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, but for you, because you deserve to have reminders like this coming your way. And remember, the world needs exactly what you have to give. Don't you dare hold back.